Hi folks, welcome to Conspiracy College. This is going to be the UFC 118 post-fight commentary. I should have done one right after the fights because I had the camera and I was at TGI Fridays, but somebody took the card out of the camera, so I wasn't able to make a video, and now I'm just getting around to it. So let's get right down to it. When I walked in, it was Nate Diaz and Marcus Davis, and I believe it was the second round. I sat down at the bar and I asked the two guys on either side, I said, has Nate been picking him apart? Because he looked all beat up. And they said, no, he's just a bleeder. But I think they were just Marcus Davis fans, because from what it seemed like from the half of the second round onwards, Nate Diaz was dominating him, just striking. Somebody said that Marcus Davis had a good flurry in the beginning, and I'm sure he did. He's a good boxer, he's got good hands, but Diaz is just fast, great striker, and it's like everybody's saying, him and Diaz have this kind of 50% strength they use, but as the fight goes on, they start hitting harder and harder, and I think it's a very efficient use of energy, and very effective. So anyway, Diaz just beat him down, and then I think got a takedown, and then got him in a guillotine real tight, and he passed out. Did not tap out, just passed out. So Nate Diaz, winner, 170. He's looking good. I'd like to see him against anybody 170's got. Probably Hathaway would be a good match for him. Forget his first name. John Hathaway, English kid, kind of similar style. So, okay, next fight was Damian Maia and Miranda. Now, after this, it gets kind of fuzzy because some friends showed up and I was kind of talking with them and having drinks and watching the fight out of the corner of my eye, which was a little bit aggravating, but you know, I'll take a good time with friends over paying super close attention. But for the last two fights, I had to excuse myself from watching real closely. But Damian Maia and Miranda, it looked like Damian Maia was getting the better of him for the most of it, but from halfway watching like I was, it seemed pretty close. But neither one of them is going to be a threat in the 185 anytime soon. Maybe Damian Maia will. If his striking gets better and his jiu-jitsu gets even better, his takedowns is what he needs. He's working on his wrestling. Takedowns. Anyway, he won that fight by a decision, and then we went on to Kenny Florian and Gray Maynard, which was a real interesting fight. Kenny Florian's good. He's a smart fighter. He's got good jiu-jitsu and he's got decent striking. But the new breed right now is just the intensity that the wrestler brings, and just his ability to bring the fight to the ground and to dominate the ground game, stay on top. And I think if you have a good background in wrestling, you're going to be able to stick and move better, just because just shooting so much, you just get good at just jumping in and striking, jumping in and taking them down, or jumping in and landing a couple shots. They kind of go hand in hand, just with that quickness and being able to shoot. So Gray Maynard kind of got the best of Kenny most of the time. Wasn't a dominant win, but I mean it was clearly Gray Maynard won. But Kenny had some decent stand up, and he looked decent on the ground. I mean, he's got great jiu-jitsu, but Gray Maynard's just one of these wrestlers that's it's a training, I'm telling you. And I'll talk more about that with the Frankie Edgar and DJ Penn fight, but they just know how to train more intensely, I think, than most other guys. And it's whole body training. And then they throw their whole bodies into the fight when they fight, with their striking and with their takedowns. And they're the most aggressive type right now. I think it's just kind of chance that most of the weight classes have wrestlers that are kind of dominating. Eventually striking will evolve, or just somebody will come, a bigger badass just with better genes will come along, who doesn't have a background in wrestling and has a background in boxing, and it's just going to knock all these dudes out. But right now, wrestling is dominating. And it makes sense. So anyway, Gray Maynard beat Kenny Florian, and now he's going to have the next title shot at 155. Next fight, James Toney and Randy Couture. We were all a little nervous about this. We all wanted it to be a really entertaining fight, and everybody was curious because nobody wanted to see Randy get his head knocked off. So I think the number one worst case scenario would have been Randy walking in there and getting his head knocked off. But the second worst case scenario was just Randy walking in there, taking him down, ground and pounding him a little bit, and then choking him out. That was not entertaining, and I mean, it was a good point that unless you have, very extensive advanced training on the ground, you're not going to be able to walk in against somebody and do anything. But it was Randy Couture. I mean, shoot, there's not many people around that can stuff his shoot, stuff his takedown. But anyway, that's what happened. We just took him down, and somebody put it best on, I heard it, saw it written somewhere. It said, "Give James Toney props for making $100,000 in 10 minutes, and that includes all the time he trained." So that's kind of the story of that fight. All right, main event: BJ and Frankie Edgar. Went the same as last fight, only kind of more so. Edgar had a little bit more energy and just looked a little bit more dominant. And honestly, BJ just looks frustrated. And it's frustrating because I think BJ Penn's still the best in the world, still could be the best in the world, but when it comes down to training, I know BJ supposedly stepped his game up a few years back, said he was 28 and could be the best in the world if he stopped fucking around and started really training. So he started really training. Well, he started training more than he was, but he's still not training like Gray Maynard and Frankie Edgar's train, like animals, to where they're just like pit bulls. Their bodies are just chomping at the bit to jump around for 15, 45 minutes. Whereas BJ, I don't know your training, but I know that you don't put in the hours like those dudes do at the intensity level they do. And so that's how it is. And Kenny Florian either. I mean, I don't want to sound too harsh, but I think Kenny Florian and BJ Penn, probably BJ Penn more so, came from kind of privileged backgrounds. And by privilege, I just mean you didn't have to put in hard day's work at a very early age. They just were taken care of until they were adults. But I mean, when you come from kind of the other side of the tracks and you're putting in long, hard hours at a very early age, and then you start wrestling in high school and putting long, hard hours in at that, and you learn how to get that edge by putting the hours of training in and learning how to drop weight effectively. It's just, that's why those guys have the edge right now. That's why Chael Sonnen has the edge. That's why Brock has the edge. So it comes down to training. So you want to beat those guys, you got to out-train them. You're not going to beat them on skill right now. At least nobody I've seen. So Chael Sonnen can do that to Anderson Silva, and Frankie Edgar can do that to BJ Penn. That's all the proof I need right now. So yeah, Frankie Edgar won. That was it. I'd have to say Nate Diaz and Marcus Davis was probably the most entertaining, just because they were going at it the whole time I was watching. But then I only halfway watched Kenny Florian and the Damian Maia fight. And then of course the Randy Couture fight was what it was, and none of us just like seeing BJ get beat like that. Just by sheer, that guy came in there with just more energy to spend, and he just spent it wisely and frustrated BJ the whole time and won the fight. So that's that. I think there's fight night coming up. Should be some pretty good fights on that. And then UFC 119. Who is headlining? I believe it's Cro Cop and Frank Mir, which that's out of nowhere because I think today's the first time I heard that. So Mirko Cro Cop and Frank Mir, that'll be an entertaining fight. That's it. UFC 118 in the bag. Over. Looking forward to the future.